Welcome to the course Mastering HTML5 and CSS3. I'm Samane, your instructor in this course. Do you want to be a web developer? Are you looking for learning skills in web developing area? Good news! This course will teach you everything from scratch. In web developing, we have two main concepts, backend and frontend. In backend, you define the functionality of your website. And in the front end, you define what users can see in your website, like images, text, and many other things. If you learn both front end and back end, you'll become a full-stack developer. For back end, there are many languages that is out of the scope of this course. But for front end, we have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML defines the skeleton of a web page without anything special. By adding CSS, you can define how your web page should look like to the end user. If you add JavaScript, you can make a web page more interactive. In this course, we will focus on HTML and CSS concepts and we will tell everything from scratch. We will cover the other concepts in the related course. So, if you want to change your future, join this course to learn HTML and CSS3 from the scratch. We will cover everything in this course.
This video is a summary of the main course titled Mastering HTML5 and CSS3 Part 1 for beginner level inside 7x24learn.com. So if you want to know the other topics about the HTML and CSS, please consider subscribing in this site and use this course.
Hello everyone and welcome to the first day of Mastering HTML5 and CSS3, or let's know about HTML more. What is HTML? HTML is not a word. It actually stands for Hypertext Markup Language. What does this mean? A hypertext refers to the way in which web pages, or that we call them in future HTML documents, are linked together. So every link that is available on a web page is called hypertext. This language is a standard markup language for creating web pages. So every web page that you want to create, it actually needs HTML to make the structure. So HTML shows the structure of a web page. And actually, a HTML web page consists of elements that tell browsers how to show the content. You define some contents and you use HTML to tell the browsers, any web browsers like Firefox, like Chrome, and other ones to show and to tell them how to show the content of your desired document. Why HTML? Why we need to learn about HTML? If you want to become a web designer and start a professional job as a web designer, you need to learn about HTML and CSS. It's a must skill, so you have to know about them. Create websites. Have you ever think about creating your websites or other one's websites? If you know HTML, you can create a website or customize an existing website template if you know HTML well. So if you want to change a website or create a new one, you need to know about HTML. Understand web. If you own a website and you want to optimize your website to improve its speed and its performance, it's good to know HTML. So you can have the best result. Learn other languages. What does it mean? If you want to learn other languages that are related to the web design and web development, it's good to know first about HTML. Once you learn HTML, understanding the other languages and learning them is much more easier for you. For example, JavaScript, PHP, or any other languages that are used for creating and developing web pages. What is HTML tag? Tags are enclosed within angle braces like this. This is called angle braces, and the tags are enclosed within these angle braces. An HTML document or an HTML file consists of lots of tags, and tags are enclosed between these angle braces. Most of the tags have corresponding closing, or in the other word, end tag, that looks like these angle braces slash and tag name. So the closing tag is like this. We will reach to the tags in future, and you will learn about what they do. Tag names should be in lowercase format. So if we want to write a tag in HTML, and that tag means or shows a content to us and tell the browser how to show our content, that tag name should be written in a lowercase format. What is HTML element? What is the difference between HTML element and HTML tag? An HTML element defined by a start tag, some content, and an end tag. Start with a tag, some content here, and with a closing tag or end tag. Everything that starts from the start tag to the end tag is called HTML element. But some HTML elements doesn't have any content, so they do not need an end tag. We call these elements empty elements. So in some cases, we don't need end tag. In those cases, or in those tags, we call that HTML element as an empty element. How we can write a HTML file? In the simplest way, you can use only a simple text editor. If you are using Windows, you can use Notepad, or if you are using a Mac computer, you can use TextEdit. Of course, these editors or simple editors don't help you to write HTML tags. In this course, we use advanced editors like Visual Studio Code, Notepad++, and you can use many other editors that can help you to write HTML documents. In future, we will install Visual Studio Code together, so don't worry about it now. How we write an HTML document? There are simple steps. You should just open your editor and write your HTML document. What you want your browser shows to you as your content in your HTML document. Save your file with the extension .htm or .html. Be sure that you set the encoding to UTF-8. Some of the words, some of the characters that you use in your HTML document may not be in English, or you can use any special characters in different languages that are not English, and they should be in UTF-8 format. So be sure that you set the encoding to UTF-8. Then simply view your file in the browser by double-click on it. This is the simplest way that you can make an HTML file or make an HTML document and view it in your browser. Let's create an HTML document in the next video.
This video is a summary of the main course titled Mastering HTML5 and CSS3 Part 1 for beginner level inside 7x24learn.com. So if you want to know the other topics about the HTML and CSS, please consider subscribing in this site and use this course.
Day 1. Install HTML editor. Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we are going to install an HTML editor that helps us to write our HTML code or HTML document in the best way. There are many editors for HTML and of course other languages. They are not just specified for HTML. You can use them later to learn other languages too. I introduced some of them here and then install one of them for you in this video. Notepad++ is a free editor that you can use and install on your PC to start coding HTML. VS Code or Visual Studio Code. Brackets and Komodo Edit. In this course, we are going to use Visual Studio Code. Let's continue to learn how to download and how to install VS Code on your PC. Okay, open your browser and search for VS Code. As you see here, Visual Studio Code, the search result may be different for you based on the search engine that your browser is using, but I choose Visual Studio Code here and waiting for it to open. You see different versions of Visual Studio Code based on your operating system. As I'm using Windows, I choose Windows one and download that for my PC. I pause the video so the download gets finished. Okay, the setup file has been downloaded and I saved it on my desktop. I right click on this and click on Run as Administrator. It warns me because I chose to run as administrator and I select OK. You should read the agreement and then accept the agreement. Next, choose where should it install. Next and next. In this window, you can select whatever you want. If you want to create a shortcut on your desktop, check for this. And if you want to add the VS Code as a right-click option, for example, when you right-click on this, it will show here and you can open your file in the VS Code. I select this and click Next. And then install. I wait for install, then come back to you. Okay, the installation process has been finished and in the last window you can select Launch Visual Studio Code so it opens the Visual Studio Code for you, or uncheck this and click Finish. I prefer to open the VS Code. As you see, there is a welcome window when you open the VS Code for the first time, shows to you and says what theme you like to work with. For default, the dark modern theme is selected and I left to be this. Or you can select, see for more themes from here and start working with your VS Code. I close this window. You can change your theme later from the menu above, but for now, let me leave it like this. And this is all done. We installed our editor to work with in future. Join me in the next video.
This video is a summary of the main course titled Mastering HTML5 and CSS3 Part 1 for beginner level inside 7x24learn.com. So if you want to know the other topics about the HTML and CSS, please consider subscribing in this site and use this course.
Day 2, Basic HTML Tag. Hello everyone and welcome back. The very first important and basic tags in HTML are heading tags. Any document, any HTML document that you see should start with a heading tag. We have 6 levels of headings in HTML that are defined with H1 to H6, as you see here. H1 opening and H1 closing, H6 opening and H6 closing. So we have H1, H2, H3, H4 and H5 and H6. What are the difference between H1 and the other ones? H1 shows the most important heading in your web page, while the H6 shows the least important heading. So from the top to down, we have the most important heading, then the importance of each heading level decreased by 1. Typically, we use headings to show the titles and subtitles in a web page. So if you want to show the main content of your web page, you should use H1 and then continue to show the subtitles using the other heading tags. What is the importance of heading tags? These tags are used by search engines to index your web page. So if you want your web page appears more in search results in different search engines, you should use heading tags. One important note, as we mentioned here, you should only use one H1 per page. So you have one main title, one main heading in a web page, not more than one. And do not skip heading levels. For example, you use H1, don't skip to the H3. You should use H2 after H1 and so on. This is an example of using H1 in your web page. You should start with the opening tag H1 here, for example, and your heading should go between the opening and closing tag. Opening and closing should be equal. If you use H1, the closing tag should be H1 as well. If you use H2, the closing tag should be H2 as well. When the browser wants to show the H1 to H6 or heading tags to you, by default, it adds a line before and after the heading element. So when you use headings, you can see there is a line space between heading tag and the other content that you use, or between all the heading tags. One more important thing here is that you should not use heading tags to make your text bolder or bigger. We use different tags to make our text important. Heading tags are just used for titles and subtitles. Another difference between H1 to H6 heading tags is that browsers use a different size of font to display them. So H1 is bigger in size and H6 is smaller in size. And also, as you see here, the heading tags are almost supported in all browsers. Let's see heading tags in action. Okay. Before see the heading tags in action, I want to create a folder for all my files that are related to this course, and then you can use all of them as well. Okay, I create a folder here and call it HTML and CSS. Okay, now I click on it and choose Open with Code. As you see, you can also open your folder, install Visual Studio Code. For the first time that I open it, it asked me for if I trust this folder or not. As I created this folder, I trust this. You may download this folder later and you have to trust it for the first time that you want to use it. Okay, you can press this check too. Then, because I want to grade out my project on the desktop, I can check this for later so I don't have to press yes, I trust the others in the future. Yes, I trust the others. Okay, your folder is empty. You don't have any file here. This is the folder that we already opened in the VS Code. I close the welcome window here. Now I want to create a new file. You can create new file here, create a new folder here. And if you change your folder in the My Computer, you can refresh the Explorer here. So all the files and folders or images that you add through My Computer, you can have it in the VS Code as well. Okay, I want to add a new file. You have to write the name and the extension for your file. I said headings.html. As you see, when you write HTML, the icon of your file will change and it shows that this file is an HTML file. You can use HTML for extension or HTML. I use HTML. Okay, now this is your file. This is the first file that we are creating together. So I write the required tags for the first time here. I don't want to copy it. The first tag that you remember, it was doc type. As you see here, the VS Code brings me a guide and I can choose the doc type here. You can click here or you can start writing and then press Tab key. I'll delete this line and write it again. I press Tab here, and as you see, the VS Code write the rest of these for me. The next tag is HTML. As I close the angle bracket here, the closing tag will appear by VS Code itself. I don't have to write the closing tag by myself. The next tag was head. If you don't want to write anything inside the head tag, you can skip this tag. But it's recommended that you always specify the title of your HTML document that will show on the browser tab, on the browser window. As you see, when I close the angle bracket, the closing tag of head will appear itself. This is the reason why we use editors for HTML and CSS and any other languages that we want to write a program or write a document with them, because the editors helps us in many ways. It helps us to not forget closing tags for HTML. I press enter here. To specify the title of my document, I should write title tag. As I write TI with angle bracket open, you can see that it brings me the option title as well. I can move with my arrow keys up and down to select the tag that I want to use. Or I just press enter, then close the bracket, close the angle bracket. Okay, I write the heading tag in HTML, then body tag. Be careful that body tags start after head tag. It should not be inside the head tag. This kind of hierarchy in HTML is called nested elements as well. Some tags, some elements can be inside the other tags. For example, title can be inside the head tag. Other tags that we will discuss in the future can place inside body. Some of them will be inside head. The body and the head itself will be placed inside HTML tags. So this is the hierarchy of HTML that we have, and these are called nested elements. Let me save this document. I saved the document and I want to see this document before adding anything else to the body tag in the browser. You can right click on this and reveal in file Explorer. What will happen? Let's see. It brings the File Explorer here for me. And instead of I go to the File Explorer and find my file, I can just right click on this and click on Reveal in Explorer. I right click on this, open with Microsoft Edge. As you see, there is nothing inside my HTML document. Here the browser will not display anything because I didn't write anything inside body tag. But the title tag that I wrote in head part is showing here. Headings tag in HTML. If I change the title, this will be changed as well. If I didn't write anything in title tag, let's see what will happen. Okay, I clear or I delete this tag here, Control save, then refresh my browser. As you see, it shows my file name here. So if you forget to write the title tag for your document, it will be shown the name of the file in the browser. Let's undo what we did right now. Then write out headings. Start with H1. I call heading 1. I write the other tag for headings that we have 6 levels of headings. So I write all of them, then I come. I add 6 levels of headings in my document. I save this and refresh the browser to see what will happen now. As you see, heading 1 is the most important heading level in the HTML. So the browser shows it in the biggest size of heading regards to the other heading tag. And as you see, the other headings will be smaller than heading 1. This is the default size that your browser will show for your heading tag and the default color for the font, default size for the font, default color for the font. As you see here, it's black and in this size. If you want to change the color of your heading tags, the size of your heading tags, the font of your heading tag, and anything about your heading tag, there are different ways that we can make changes to the way that our browser shows the heading tags. But don't worry about them now. We will discuss them in details in the future. But for now, just remember, heading tags by default will be shown in a background white and the color of font black, and this size regards to each other in each level. Paragraph tag. If you want to show a block of text to your users, it's better to use paragraph. To define a paragraph tag, you should use P element. P element starts with opening P, your content, and then closing P tag. As an example here, we open paragraph with tag P, then our text, and with the closing tag B. Opening and closing should be the same. When the browser wants to show a paragraph to users, it adds a line before and after your paragraph by default. So if you use multiple tag P in order, none of them will stick together by default. So there is a line between them. And also, the paragraph tag or tag P supported in almost all browsers that we have here. Let's see paragraph tag in action. Okay, to test the paragraph tags, I create a new file here called paragraph.html and press enter. To save your time, I just copy the main part of the HTML document here and then continue with paragraph tag. This is the common part of an HTML document, and I write the title for the document paragraph tag in HTML. Let's add paragraph tag. Start with opening tag P and closing tag P. Okay, alright, this is my first paragraph in one line. I save this and I view this in the browser. Revealing File Explorer, right click, open with Microsoft page. As you see, the title like here and my paragraph appears here by the browser. Let's go back to VS Code and add a multi-line paragraph. Here, I add another tag P and I write my second paragraph like this. This is my second paragraph in multi-line in two different lines, and I save this document with Ctrl+S and refresh the browser. Now, you see the first paragraph here in one line, and the second paragraph, instead of being in multi-line, it's in one line as well. Let's add more text so my paragraph actually break the lines and go to the next line. Okay, I add another p tag and I just copy a long text and I want to paste it here. As you see, this is a long text. You can find this kind of text by searching lorem ipsum in the search engine. I save this and refresh my browser. As you see, this is a long text, so it can display it in multi-lines by the browser. If your screen is very wide, you can see all these paragraphs in one line as well. There is no multi-line. We will discuss about this issue a little bit later. Let's add some heading tag to this document so you can see the difference between showing headings and paragraph in the browser. I add one H1 here as paragraphs, then one H2 here and one H2 here as well. Let's save it and see in the browsers. The difference between the size of the paragraph text and heading text is visible here. Browser behavior. You cannot understand what exactly browser do when it wants to show an HTML document to you. Different sizes of screens have different results in browsers. So if you use a bigger screen, thing that you see in the browser is different from the thing that you see in a smaller size of a screen. And if you resize the browser window, the result will be different. And of course, you cannot change the browser behavior by adding spaces or new lines using Enter key in your keyboard or using space key in your keyboard. Browsers by default automatically delete every extra spaces or new lines that you use with space key or Enter key in your keyboard. So if you want to show new lines, extra spaces, you should use a different way to tell the browser that you need new lines here, you need extra spaces here. So join me in the next video to see how we can solve this problem.
This video is a summary of the main course titled Mastering HTML5 and CSS3 Part 1 for beginner level inside 7x24learn.com. So if you want to know the other topics about the HTML and CSS, please consider subscribing in this site and use this course.
Text formatting. If you use a word processor software, you must be familiar that you can format your text in different shapes. You can make your text bold, italic, underlined, and many other styles that you want to have in your text. In HTML, also we have different ways that we can make our text like the things that are seems in the word processors. One of the ways is using HTML text formatting tags. With these tags, we can improve the visual appearance of a web page content. Let's see what they are. To show a piece of text in your content in italic style, you can use different tags. One of them is the I element. It shows your text in the italic format. The other element is EM tag or emphasize tag. What's the difference between emphasize and italic text? Is that when the screen reader want to read the text in EM tag, will emphasize the text inside that. But in displaying the I tag and EM tag in the browser, there is no difference. The both of them by default will be shown in italic format. So use the EM tag just when you want to emphasize a piece of your text. For example, technical terms, foreign phrases, and many other things like this can be placed inside the EM tag. You can see the example of using of these tags here. The text should be inside the opening and closing tag. Here I tag, here EM tag. The next style is bolding your text. If you want to show your text in a bold format, you can use the B element in the HTML. This tag will show the text inside it in a bold format in the browser to the end user. Remember, the text that you put in this tag will have no any importance. So this text will not have any importance to the search engines. This is an example of usage of a B tag. There is another tag that can show your text to the end user in a bold format. We call this tag strong. Your text should be placed inside the opening strong tag and the closing strong tag. This text will be shown in a bold format in the browser, but the difference between the B tag and strong tag is that you can make your text important to the search engine. You can see here how we can use the strong tag. The example usage of a strong tag is that you can use it for your keywords that will show the main concept of your HTML document or of your web page. So do not use it too much in your HTML document, and do not use the B tag instead of strong tag and vice versa. So if your text doesn't have any importance, do not use it in the strong tag. It may happen that some of your content in a web page is deleted. If you want to show a deleted text to your users, you can use the delete element like this, opening del tag and closing del tag. The text must be placed inside this element. When the browser wants to show the text inside this tag, will paint a line through it like this. This is the default way that your browser will show a deleted text to the end user. If you want to show to the user that you have a new content inside an old content, you can use the inserted text tag. How you can use it? You should put your content inside the opening ins tag and closing ins tag. When the browser wants to show the text inside this element to the end user, it uses an underlined format like this. We can see an example of using inserted text here. To define a superscript text, you can use this element. It has opening and closing tag. When the browser wants to show the text inside this element to the end user, it will use a smaller font size and above the base line, so the text will appear in a different way to your users. Example usages of this tag is for footnotes. As you see here, the display the text inside this tag will be the same as this. And here you can see a usage of this tag. To define a subscripted text, you can use this element. The text should be placed inside the opening and closing tag. Like superscripted tag, the text will be shown in a smaller font size. But the difference between superscript and subscript tag is that the text inside the subscript will be below the base line. You can use this tag for chemical formulas like CO2. Here you can see an example usage of the subscripted tag. In some cases, you may want to show a text in a highlighted format to your users. In that cases, you can use the mark tag. The text should be placed inside the opening and the closing of mark tag. When the browser wants to show the text that is placed inside this tag, will be used a yellow background color for this text. Here you can see an example usage of this tag, and the background will be yellow by default in the browser. If you want to show a piece of your text smaller in font size regards to the other text in one paragraph, you can use the small element. The text should be placed inside the opening and the closing tag. Here you can see an example usage of small tag. The text inside this tag will be smaller in font size regards to the other text that are in the paragraph. Here you can see the summary of all these tags in a table. You can see the tags and the default displaying in the browser. Remember that you can always change how the browser can display these tags using CSS styles. We will talk about how you can change the default displays of these tags, and for now let's see all these tags in action. Okay, to show the text formatting tag in HTML, I already created a file and named it textformatting.html. Here, instead of writing anything, I just write doc and press tab. As you see, all the basic elements of an HTML document is appearing here for me. These are basic tags in meta, and you can see body here. Don't worry about the meta tags here. We will discover them in future videos. I want to add 10 p tag or 10 paragraph tag here to show each text formatting tag here. To do so, here I write p multiply 10 and press tab. As you see, now I have 10 paragraphs. Okay, I added a text for each paragraph. Let's see this in the browser before adding any extra tags. You can press go live here or right click here, open with live server. As you see, all the paragraphs are the same and there is no difference between the text inside them. Let's make changes. For the first paragraph, I add tag B here to bold this text. As you see, I should cut this to put here. It's up to you which text you want to be bold in your text. Let's save and see this file in the browser again. As you see, this text is bold now. Let's go back to VS Code. I will add relevant tag to each paragraph as they should be. Here strong, here italic, here emphasized, marked, smaller, deleted, and so on. Here I will add the tags and continue. As you see, I add a strong tag here, I tag here, EM tag here, mark tag here, small, delete, in, subscript, and superscript. Let's save this and see in the browser. As you see, now there is a difference between each of the tags that we use in our document. But here between strong and bold, as we said, there is no difference in displaying in the browser. So as for italic and emphasized text, bold and strong, both of them is showing in bold text. I and emphasized, both of them are showing in italic text. But the difference is that the strong text makes your text important for the search engines and for many other things. But the bold texts are just bold. And the difference between italic and emphasized text is that the reader in the browsers will read the emphasized text with emphasized. The marked text is highlighted here. The smaller text will be shown in a smaller font size. The deleted text will have a line through it. The inserted text will have an underline. The subscripted text will be shown lower than the other text, and the superscripted text will be shown upper than the other text. I missed the heading tag here. Let's add the heading tag and finish this video. Here I add H1 text formatting. Let's save and see in the browser. Thank you for watching. Join me in the next video.
This video is a summary of the main course titled Mastering HTML5 and CSS3 Part 1 for beginner level inside 7x24learn.com. So if you want to know the other topics about the HTML and CSS, please consider subscribing in this site and use this course.
Colors. Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video we are going to talk about colors in HTML. Color have many usages in HTML, as have you seen till now. We use it for text color, background color, and also we have color for borders. When you want to use color in your CSS rules, you have many different ways. One of them is using color name like red, green, blue, and other names as you see till now. But we have different ways too, using different functions like RGB, like HSL, or using hexadecimal code. Let's see how we can use them. Okay, to show different ways of using colors in your CSS, I copy my selector.css file and name it colors. I just did this because I don't want to change the selector.css file. In this file, we are going to use different ways of using color. As you see, you have color names till now: blue, green, yellow, and red. These are the way of using color with the color name. As I said, there are many ways to use color in your CSS files. Let's see one of them. The first one is RGB. When you go on your color name, a color palette will be appeared by VS Code to you. So you can see your color with RGB function. For blue, we have RGB 00255. The last parameter, that is blue, has the maximum value. Each parameter in this function can be between 0 and 255. If I move my mouse here, you can see the RGB function will change and the color will appear here like this. This is RGB function. The parameters are red, green, and blue. So if you want to use RGB for color value, you should use like this. RGB, it takes 3 parameters, one for each main color. We have 3 main colors: red, green, and blue here. And each parameter can have the value between 0 and 255. If all the values are 0, your color will be black. If all the values be 255, your color will be white. For pure green color, you have like this. And you can make different colors using this function. Another way of using color is using RGBA function. RGBA is the same as RGB, but with an extra parameter. So here, if I want to use RGBA, I write RGBA and define my color code. The values for RGB are the same as RGB function, but for the last parameter, that is alpha, we define the opacity of the color, and the value can be between 0 means transparent and 1 means opaque. So I define my color, for example, like this. I set the alpha channel for 0.5. And you also can change the color with this color palette. So RGBA is extension for RGB. It actually adds alpha channel for opacity control of your color. The last parameter is alpha with the value between 0 and 1. 0 means transparent, you have no color, and 1 means opaque, you have the full color. Okay, another way of using color in your CSS rule is using the color code. The color code is actually a number in hexadecimal system. What is hexadecimal? It's a number system that numbers are from 0 to 15. 16 numbers you have in this numbering system. To define color using this way, we should write the code color for each color that we want. Here, when you want to write a color name, it brings you a list of color names. In front of each, you can see a 6-digit number that is each color code. Instead of, for example, aqua, you can write this color code. Or for example, for red, you can write something like this. As you see, this is red color. In this way of using color, you have 2 digits for each main color. We have red, green, and blue. These are our 3 main colors. So we have 2 digits for red, 2 for green, and 2 for blue. Each digit can be from 0 to F. We are not talking about numbering system here, but just to know, in hexadecimal number system, numbers are from 0 to 50. Instead of writing 10, you should write A in English letters. So hexadecimal color value is a 6-digit code, 2 for each color, 2 for red, 2 for green, and 2 for blue, between 00 to FF. For white color, you have 6F for your hexadecimal code color, and for black, you have 0 for all digits. And the color code should start with the hash character. Next way of using color in your CSS rules is using HSL function. In this way of defining color for your rules, you should define hue, saturation, and lightness for a color. Hue is the color type, saturation is the intensity of the color, and lightness is actually the brightness of the color. Here I will use HSL for color. You should define 3 parameters for HSL, as I said. The first one here can be between 0 to 360. For example, I write 50. The next parameter is saturation. The value can be between 0 to 100%. And the last parameter is lightness. The value can also be between 0 and 100%. The more value, the brighter color. The less value, the darker color. And as you see, this is the color that I have at the end of these values. Also, we have another function for color as well. Like RGB that we have RGBA that is an extension of RGB and have another parameter for the opacity of color. For HSL, we have an extension as well like this. So we have, I change the color here, HSL-A. And the last parameter is the same as the last parameter of RGBA. It's the opacity of the color. And the value can be between 0 and 1. The more opacity, 0. The less opacity, 1. For example, I write. And here is the final color that you have. Here you can define the opacity in the color palette. So with HSL, you can define the color with 3 different parameters. Hue, the degree of the color in the wheel from 0 to 360. Saturation, that is from 0 to 100% its color intensity, or it's a shade of gray. Lightness, the brightness of your color, that is between 0 and 100%. 0 means black, 50 means normal, and 100 is white. HSLA is an extension of HSL function for color. It actually adds alpha channel for opacity control. So we have like this: hue, saturation, lightness, and alpha. The alpha value can be between 0 means transparent, you can see everything behind it, to opaque with the value 1. Color names are limited. We can't set a name for every color. We can have millions of colors, but if you want to use a color and you don't know the name, you can use the color code or using other function as well. We may define our colors in this series using different ways. So join me in the next video.
This video is a summary of the main course titled Mastering HTML5 and CSS3 Part 1 for beginner level inside 7x24learn.com. So if you want to know the other topics about the HTML and CSS, please consider subscribing in this site and use this course.
HTML links. HTML links are hyperlinks. You can click on a link and jump to another document. When you move the mouse pointer on a link in the browser, the mouse pointer will turn to a little hand. If you want to define a link in your HTML document, you should use a tag. The syntax for a tag is like this. It has a href attribute that is a URL or target document, and link title can be a text or any other HTML element, for example, image. The most usable attribute for HTML links are href and target. Using href, you define the target document that must be opened, and using the target attribute, you define the location where the target document should be opened. It can be blank, that means in the new window, or it can be still in the current window, and other values for this attribute as well. You can use absolute URL or relative URL for HTML links. I talked about absolute URLs and relative URL in the previous videos. To make it short, absolute URL are full web addresses and relative URL is a local link without HTTP part. You can see an example here for absolute URL and for relative URLs. By default, a link will appear like this in the browser. An unvisited link is underlined. The unvisited link is actually a link that the user has not visited yet. A visited link is underlined and purple. An active link is underlined and red. You can link to an email address using mail to inside the href attribute. When the user clicks on such these links, a mail program on the user's device will open. Using hyperlinks, you can create bookmarks. To define bookmarks, you need a link and a target place that link should go. For example, here we define our link using a element, and when the user clicks on this text in our HTML document, he will jump to another section of our document that is called with about us. The href attribute here starts with a hash character and followed with the ID of the section that you want to go. Let's see HTML links in action. Okay, here in my links.html document, I want to add some links. You can type the letter A and then press tab. So the A element will appear for you, or you can type like this. Anyway, in the href attribute, you should define the URL of the target document. It can be absolute, a document on the internet, or it can be local. For absolute, I type the Google link, and inside the element, you should write the title for your link, or it can be any other element as well. Let's save and see this in the browser. As you see, my link is appearing here. If I click on this, it will open the Google site inside my current tab. If I don't want to open the link inside my current tab and open in the new tab, I should use target attribute. Let's copy this line using Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V, and I add target attribute here as blank. And let me fix the title as well. Save. The first link, Google in current tab. If I click on this, it will open the Google in the current tab. And next one, Google in new tab. It will open the Google in the new tab. As you see, when you click on a link in the HTML document, the color for the element will change. Let's add another link and see what is going on. I copy this line and paste here, save. And as you see, the new link is in purple color as well. What is going on here? All these link elements have the same href attribute. Let's make another link with a different href attribute value. I change this link to another one, for example, Yahoo, and save. And you see the link color here is blue, the default value for unvisited links. So if you visit a link in an HTML document, all the other links inside that HTML document that have the same value for href attribute will be considered as visited. When you click and hold the mouse button, the status for link is active, and the default color for active link is red. Let's fix this title. I fix this link title. And one more thing about target attribute for link. Target attribute can have different values. The default value is set, means open in the current tab or in the current window. For the parent and top value, you need to be familiar with iframes in HTML that we will reach them in future videos. But if I select self and save, and here I click this, as you see, the Yahoo will open in the current tab for me. We can set the href value using relative URLs or using local links. For example, here I want to make a link to one of my other HTML documents. I type A, press tab, and href I use, for example, headings.html. I add another hr tag here. As you see, I have a link to my headings.html file. And if I click on this, the HTML file will open for me here in the current tab. If the href value is not correct, for example, something else like this, and I click on this link now, I get error for nothing find the headings1.html. These links called broken URL or broken links. You should avoid to have broken links in your HTML document. And if you right click here and inspect, in the console part, you can see that there is an error here, failed to load resource, status of 404 not found. And one more thing about local links. Let's fix the link first. When I use absolute URL, I use HTTP and then the other part of the URL that I want. But when I use local links or relative links, I didn't mention HTTP, but in the browser, it will consider the first part of the address as well. For example, the address for this file starts with this. And when I go on this link, it shows me on the bottom of the browser the first part of the address for this document. We can make links between all your HTML documents like this. Okay, to show how you can make bookmark using link, I need to add some more paragraphs to my HTML document. So I have line content and I can scroll down to see the other content as well. I added this much paragraph and some heading tags as well. And this is the result in the output. As you see, I now can scroll and see the other content of my HTML document. Let's fix the links and make bookmark. To have bookmark, you need to add ID attribute for the sections that you want to jump into. For example, here I add ID like this, and also for here, and also for here. And of course, I want something here to have section. I have the paragraph, call it home. Now I will add my link tags here. Use the hash character and the section that you want. I copy this using Ctrl C, then Ctrl V. For section 2, I write section 2. And for section 3, I write for section 3. I put this character to separate the indexes. Let's see what we have in the browser now. As you see, I have these links here now. If I click on section 1, the beginning of the section 1 will be at the top of the browser window. If I click on section 2, second section is here. And if I click on third section, I have the third section. Because I don't have more content, the third section is at the end. If I want to go back here to the index, I need to add a link at the end of each section, and when I click on this, I can go back to the index part. Let's say just copy this and put it at the end of each section. Instead of section, I said go to top. I copy this and paste to the end of each section. Save and see. Now you have this, and when you're at the bottom, you can easily click here and go back to the top. As you see, you can easily make bookmark index for HTML content, especially when you have an article and that article is made of different parts. It's better you make a section and make an index at the first of your article like this. That's all for this video. Let's continue in the next video.
This video is a summary of the main course titled Mastering HTML5 and CSS3 Part 1 for beginner level inside 7x24learn.com. So if you want to know the other topics about the HTML and CSS, please consider subscribing in this site and use this course.